All right, guys, Treadmill Talks. Here we are again. We're going for a walk on the beach today. Nice and romantic. Don't forget, this channel is growing, but we can grow faster. Hit the subscribe button, get this information out to more dudes. Help out your bros, your fellow brethren, if you will. Now, today's topic is going to be more of a kind of an opinion piece on my part. Not so much storytelling this time or like tips and tricks. Just kind of like my thoughts on what kind of happened and what's going on in terms of why everything feels backwards. And so yesterday I was watching that Psych Hacks video where he was talking about, now say what you will about Orion Taraban. I'm 50-50 on the guy, but he is very, there's a reason why his channel is that large. It's because he's very good at articulating certain intergender, he's good at verbalizing things that people feel. That's what it is, basically, right? But the topic that he was talking about was like why hypergamy got messed up in terms of women only want men that can provide maintain their lifestyle with a certain income, right? So his argument was that if a woman makes $100,000, in order for her to actually settle down and have children and not give up her lifestyle, the man needs to make at least 220,000, right? Which I agree with that point to a certain degree. So here's kind of the crux of what happened in a nutshell here. And the reason why it's what we're going to talk about is why feminism broke everything, but I think it will not fix everything, but I think it will sort itself out in the long term. So what happened was when feminism came around, and back in the day, during the patriarchy days, or whatever, the 50s, or even the 40s, or whatever, World War II, around there, women weren't allowed to work until the factories of World War II, but they weren't allowed to work, they weren't allowed to have their own bank accounts, and they weren't allowed to vote or own land or whatever, right? So they didn't really have their own autonomy there, right? Which is obviously bad. Like, come on, like, we can all agree as human beings that every human should have autonomy to do whatever they want, okay? This isn't a channel or a video where I wish we were back in the Stone Ages or whatever. It's every human should have autonomy, because I always approach it from the frame of, if you were in that position, you wouldn't like it either, would you? You wouldn't like being under the control of some shitty husband's thumb, right? You wouldn't like that. So that makes sense why that whole movement happened, right? It should have happened. So anyway, when feminism started gaining momentum, now it's not their fault, but they didn't understand, the movement, I mean, they didn't understand what the ramifications would be long term by doubling the workforce, which is what Psych Hacks was talking about, right? The accidental side effect and ramifications of including women in the workforce was basically you had double the supply of workers, half the demand for currency, right? So the cost of everything doubles, which is the problem which is now this is the whole crux of the problem, right? So by women wanting autonomy, they basically screwed everything over. Like again, it's not blaming. This is just, we're talking about facts, right? They screwed everything up for both genders in a certain way, right? Now, again, they couldn't have foreseen, all they wanted was autonomy. They couldn't have foreseen that they were going to screw up the entire planet with their movement, right? Now, the thing was, they didn't think, when it comes to autonomy, which is what their goal was, they weren't thinking about the autonomy of the women that actually did want to stay home and be mothers. That was the problem. So that movement essentially created double the stress and load upon men and the mothers that wanted to stay home. So it was, again, it wasn't their fault, but it was a selfish move where they were like, I want to go have my own job. I want to have my own bank account. I don't care about this lady that wants to be a mom. I don't care about the nuclear family. Sounds like a them problem. I want to make my own money. Fair, right? But again, they threw the baby out with the bathwater on that one. So now you have, with that one move of feminism, they shrunk the ability for people to actually have families to a percentile, whatever the heck the percentage is, right? What did he say, 1 in 6 men or something like that can actually afford to have families now? And then all the women that want to, so coincidentally, funny enough, just because you can make your own money doesn't mean you don't want to have a family. So now, all those women are going for the men that can afford to have families. So women created their own hypergamy problem by wanting autonomy, and then being like, this isn't, then them being like, this isn't what I signed up for. Where's my man? And then it's too late now, kind of thing, right? Now, here's the really interesting, we'll get into some dating stuff here as well, what that means for dating as well. But the interesting thing is like, the pendulum seems to be swinging the other way a little bit in some countries. So I just saw an article that was like, it was one of the Asian, Thailand maybe, I'm not sure, but they're now offering families like $10,000 of cash per kid, which is not enough, but maybe in that country it is, but things like that, governmental incentives, tax breaks, like we want people to have families. So, which is what I mean when I say the pendulum will swing eventually to keep up birth rates. So what the feminism movement should have done to not leave their sisters behind, the ones that wanted to be mothers. Also, the strange like mother shaming thing is, maybe we'll save that topic for another video because that doesn't actually make any sense. If feminism was really about female autonomy and female empowerment, don't you think that should equal all women should be able to take any path they want regardless of what the hell, like, you don't have, like, not everybody has to be a diva lawyer, you know what I mean? A stay-at-home mom is fine if they want to do that. That's their prerogative, right? So what feminism should have done, they should have been like, okay, if we're going to enter the workforce, we want to work and have our own money, which is funny because they gotta listen to a boss now, which is objectively worse than a husband. A good husband, not a bad one. I guess there's layers to this shit, right? But they should have been like, hey, okay, we want to enter the workforce, which is better for the economy, but for the women that want to have families and stay home, our taxes should go towards supporting those women somehow. This whole like $1,000 a month thing is a joke. Doesn't even cover daycare or whatever the hell they give kids these days, right? It's all just a big joke. Like, you get 2% off your taxes. Okay, thanks, bro, right? Like, thanks. That's gonna cover my $40,000 kid, right? So what they should have done is, it should all have been like contractual, right? So you marry a man, or a man and a woman get married, and it didn't have to be gender specific either. Like, you could have made it, if the woman made more money and it was more beneficial for her to go to work and the man to stay home. What I'm getting at here is they should have given the family like $30,000 or $40,000 US per child. Something like that. Maybe for the first like 3 or 4 years while they're a baby, to cover diapers, to cover formula and food, to cover the rent. Like, just because so it's interesting. I was out for lunch with a couple of friends last week, right? And we were talking about something similar of a topic like this. And one guy, he's a welder, makes like $50 an hour. It's pretty good. He makes like 100-something thousand a year, right? It's pretty good. Nothing crazy. And I like how 100K is nothing crazy, right? But anyway, him and his wife have a daughter, a new toddler, and they were having a discussion about, do we want a second child? And let me tell you, it was like this guy wanted a second kid so bad, but he kept talking about how they couldn't afford it and how a second child would ruin they would have to save up for the college fund or whatever, right, and the schooling. He's like, if we have a second child, I basically just sign up to sacrifice the college tuition of the first child. Long story short, it's not financially viable, right? So now this family, they're really good people too. That's the shitty thing, right? They're just like a good, wholesome family. And he's a welder, and he doesn't make enough money to support an extra child for the family. Because if they did, the monetary stress and the financial stress put upon him and that entire family might actually make that it might make them divorce. Like, what's the number one reason for divorce? Money, stress, right? Financial stress. So it's like, if the birth rate is plummeting, that's the exact reason why. Because feminism made it nearly impossible to have a family. They didn't think about, hey, maybe instead of your tax dollars going towards, we're not going to get into instead of tax dollars going towards safe houses for crackheads, maybe we should have put those tax dollars towards hard-working families and support them if they want to have kids. Maybe help them out a little bit. Because think about it. If that guy knew, if he knew right now that he could get another $40,000 per year for 4 or 5 years by having another kid, he would be like, okay, I can make that work. Now, the key is, I don't know what the exact number is, obviously. They would have to have like mathematicians figure it out, because there'd be some trailer park queen that pumps out like 30 kids somehow, even though it's biologically impossible. She would find a way. She would have like triplets. Every year she would pump out triplets somehow. And then now all of a sudden you have like a business model of having like farms of babies. The shitty thing is, you're always going to have somebody take advantage of the system. So the money that the government would have to give families would have to be low enough for people to think twice about having children and just farming money. but it would also have to be high enough for the good people that are hard workers that really just want a family. It has to be high enough to alleviate the stress of their financial stress, whatever it may be, rent, food, etc., right? And that's what feminism should have done. They should have done that. And I think we will get there. The problem is, I think we'll get there in like 10 to 20 years. And by then, when that does happen, there's going to be like almost 2 generations of men and women that got skipped out on families. The problem is those 1 or 2 generations of men and women that got skipped out on, there might be a lot of good genetics and a lot of good people that didn't deserve that, right? So the purple-haired Karen that wanted autonomy by making her own money, which she basically gave up one form of slavery for another. So it's like, I have to stay home and serve my man. Well, you signed up for 50 years of serving your 9-to-5 cubicle. Congratulations, right? That was the shitty thing about the whole thing. Which that I agree with. In my mind, dude, another one of my friends asked me this. She was like, Jufus, you would make a perfect trad wife. I'm like, I know, I would love that. Imagine your girl making like $300,000 a year and I get to stay home and just play with the kids all day and like do the laundry for 10 minutes. It would be the sickest setup. So I live alone right now, right? So it's like, I can do the dishes, I can like mop the floors, and I can do laundry in like 45 minutes flat, man. Like it's like I'll take that trade. Are you kidding me? So let's say it takes 2 hours to get the whole house. You pack the kids' lunches, whatever. 2 hours tops if you're like a hustler and a grinder, and then you got the rest of the day to yourself. Yeah, I'll take that deal. Women were kind of crazy for giving that up a little bit. The issue was they also didn't have autonomy to pick a good man either. That was the other part of it too. They should have had the autonomy to not have to marry pieces of shit. Like that beat them and all that crap. That's come on. But anyway, now how this actually relates to dating a little bit, this is interesting. So back in the 40s and 30s, whatever, the patriarchy days, your primary role as a man, because women couldn't have their own bank accounts and they couldn't have their own money or real estate, your main role as a man was to work and provide a home and money. And that was good enough. So, like, that was your role. It was a very, very clear-cut objective that every man could fulfill. The objective being just provide a home, right? And that's probably why the feminism thing started in the first place. Because what we know about men nowadays in 2026 is like not to shit on my fellow men, but like 90% of men are utterly useless. And they're whiny. And they complain. And they can't even change a tire. Like they don't even know how to program they just don't know anything. Because I work with a lot of men in my other channel. And I've seen the craze. So I would video call other guys and help them with their computers. And I would see like guys' hands shake when they use a screwdriver. I would try to help them replace a battery in like a controller, like an Xbox controller. And the guy was like, so like you have to flip the controller cover upward, and he was like trying it to do it the every other direction possible. I'm like, this is, it really made me understand women a lot better, because like, again, if I was a woman and I saw my man hands shake and miss the screw, he doesn't know what a Phillips is or a Torx. He calls it the cross shape or the star shape. Like, just things like that. The sheer incompetence of men is totally out of control. So, just a little bit of a rant there. But now, if you go back to the 30s, that genetic is still there, right? What we know about men nowadays and how whiny they are, and how they don't like, they're lazy too, right? So like, you take those people and you put them in the 30s, and it's like jobs are much easier and much more straightforward too, factory jobs. So the guy goes to his factory job for 9 hours. Now imagine that whiny little bitch working in a factory job for 9 hours. He's still just as incompetent, but now he has a manager yelling at him for 9 hours a day about how incompetent he is. Who's he gonna take that out on? Right? So now you have this like whiny little bitch that can't use a screwdriver come home to a wife that's far better than what he deserves because she has no choice, and now he's taking it out on her. Hence the feminism movement. It's like, we don't want to be married to these bitches that don't even know what a screwdriver is, right? We don't want to be married to these guys. And again, put yourself in the woman's shoes. Think about all your buddies in real life, and how many of them would you actually let lead your life? Think about that. In my personal experience, or in my life, I should say, I know of two guys that are actually somewhat decently competent that a woman would be lucky to have. And I'm for it. Think how many guys I know. 2. That's how utterly insane this is. Like, so if I was in the woman's position, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I would, this guy knows what's up. He's sharp, right? Like, if the world goes to shit, he's got this, right? 2 guys, man. So, if you, again, in the 30s, if you were a woman and you had a selection of 2 guys that could actually protect you properly, slim pickings, man. You're gonna be like, screw this, I wanna protect myself. Give me autonomy, right? So, in the 30s, men had a clear-cut objective, just provide for the woman. Now, feminism took that away, right? Now women can provide for themselves. So, but hypergamy has to go somewhere, right? So now if money is no longer money is an indicator, it's a signal. So it's funny. Money doesn't actually build attraction whatsoever. It does not. I don't care what it does not build attraction, okay? It's a signal to the woman that you're sharp, that you kind of know what's going on. But you can still be a complete jackass, or like, how many multi-billionaires and like, look at Jeff Bezos, or like Bill Gates or whatever. Like, how many divorces are these guys gonna have? You know what I'm saying? Because they have the money, they're sharp at their craft, but they're still betas. Do you know what I'm saying? So, let's say you take a woman from the 30s, now it's 2026. Female biology hasn't changed, right? So, if they can make their own money now, and money is no longer a requirement of the man to take care, that's why men have a loneliness epidemic now. Feminism took away their only objective that they could actually achieve, working at a factory 9 to 5, that's gone now. So now men don't know how to provide value to women anymore, right? Women are still searching for value. What is that value right now in 2026? Social media popularity, being funny, good vibes, good social skills, making her feel good in the moment. Things that are very difficult for autistic men to grasp. Like the actual difficulty, like if you're kind of on the spectrum and you can't read social cues, you don't really know what the woman is thinking. She wants a funny guy, but you can never be a funny guy. Therefore, and the path of providing for her with money is gone now. Now you're in depression, right? So now it's like women's hypergamy now converted into like celebrity social status. And again, remember that video I talked about how to attract any woman? You zoom down, so you could be the celebrity in your office building. That's what I mean by celebrity, right? Like you could be like the guy in your office building that everyone looks up to and everyone respects. It's all social status, right? Social status is like the number one thing. And then if you zoom out, obviously it becomes global social status, followers on Instagram, followers on YouTube, all that kind of stuff, right? The more followers you have, which I hate that, but that's just the currency of 2026 now, right? So anyway, so you have an entire subsection of men now. It's like, well, working 9 to 5 at a factory doesn't work anymore. Now I have to actually not be creepy. Actually, that's number one, I should say that, sorry. Not being creepy is number one on the list. Then social status, okay? I guess you can't really have social status if you're creepy as shit, but then again, some Twitch streamers would counter that argument, but anyway. So now you have to optimize, as a man, you have to optimize your sexual strategy to be funny, to be cool, not creepy, and chill. And like, it's all like nuanced kind of vibes. You have to be the guy that provides the vibes. That's what they want now. You gotta be the vibes guy. Money, providing, work. They also do optimize a little bit for looks, but I would say that's like number 4 or 5. That's like below vibes. Like, I know a lot of fat dudes that are just like hilarious and they crush it. Vibes is number 1. That's it, just vibes. Because again, the 9 to 5 factory worker male genetic, that gene that's existed this entire time, it's still there. We're living it right now. So if 90% of men are autistic, weirdo creepazoids, 10% of them are just not that. And then that's what women are targeting now. Don't be a creep. Nothing to do with money. Anybody can work a 9 to 5. Again, what hypergamy will evolve to going forward will be different every like decade or something like that. That's another one too. All the whiny ass little bitch men that can't actually use a screwdriver, it also indicates that they can't adapt to the hypergamy of that decade. They have to constantly adapt, right? Which in and of itself is an honest signal that you're a sharp guy, because you're the one that's actually adapting. Anyway, those are my thoughts on patriarchy times, and now I guess you could say we live in a matriarchy? Like gynocentrism, with the word that they use. Now women can do whatever they want. The bottle has been uncorked, and there's no government help for women that want to be mothers. Not right now. So now women have to target men that make an exorbitant amount of money in order to have families. And the women that don't want to have families, well, I should say the women that don't want to have families and the women that do, they're both targeting the fun guy, right? So TLDR, be the fun guy. Fun guy. All right, guys, it's already been 30 minutes. Got to get out of here. See you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave your comment down below what you think about before and after. I love having these discussions with people. This shit is all fascinating to me. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Subscribe again. Share the video. Talk to you later.